Well, 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 doll friends, here we are again. And that intro is especially for my good friend Chris Collins Madrid, because whenever we talk, that's what we say. Well, well, well. So, it appears to me that someone has been doing some shopping lately.
I have. I have. As you can probably tell, I love kilts. I love men in kilts, but I love kilts, but I love plaids, and I think that they're so festive for the holidays. You know, people with their trees with the tartan bows, and I mean, these are just beautiful little dolls, and there's all different varieties of them. You know, originally the kilts were long, and the clans really didn't have their own kilt. It was whatever berries, roots, anything to dye was in the region. So it was really regional, and the original ones were only 18 inches long, 28 inches wide, but they're 18 feet long, and so they'd wrap themselves up and put it over their shoulders, and some of them wore them because it was very boggy, and they didn't want to get, like, they called them trews, wet, so they wore the kilts because of course it made I'm sure their legs were freezing, but at least their legs didn't get wet. So that was the origination of the long kilt. And then that goes back to like the 1400s. So then it was the kilt and the tartan was so tied to the Scottish, particularly the Highlanders. And in 1746, there was a second Jacobite uprising with Bonnie Prince Charlie. And at the time, the general said, hey, we're not doing all that well. Maybe we should go back to guerrilla warfare, you know, spread out into the hills, which had been very successful before. But Prince Charlie wanted to take a stand. And so there were 9,000 British troops and 4,500 Highlanders. And usually what happened is the Highlanders had a very they would like charge, and they would do it with bayonets, and then they would charge, and then they have clubs, and they would basically have the element of surprise and pretty much scare them. But the British knew they were coming, and so they were in this very small area where there was marsh on one side, and there was and the British came through with cannons and improved bayonets, and within an hour 2,000 of the 4,500 Highlanders were dead. And then what happened for the ones that actually
Really nice Christmas story.
I know. I know. I'm like, wow, I probably shouldn't have gone there. Anyway,
No,
so
we're trying to.
But what happened is then the British, that was pretty much it. I mean, there was never an uprising again. And so in 1746, they actually had a proclamation that said you cannot wear tartan because that was so integral to the Scottish heritage, and that wearing it or even having a piece of it would be punishable by death. So then 1792, they abolished that, but honestly, by that time, towards the end, it was like people became interested in the clans again and in the plaids, the tartans. And you can see here, even in 1812, this is a fashion plate that shows that people were beginning to wear the tartans. So after 1792, basically the Highlanders were like, you know, we're kind of used to wearing regular clothes. We're not that into it anymore. But in early 1800s, there was a registry in London that wanted to start preserving the tartans and the different clan plaids. But the funny thing is that they were asking the clan, and the clan were like, I don't remember. I mean, they bought what was available.
Yeah,
so
just whatever that appealed to them.
Right, and so what happened is people think that these are ancient tartan plaids that go back hundreds of centuries. It doesn't. I mean, at that point in time, they began to, and they were encouraged to embrace their Scottish heritage and to begin to wear the tartans again. So it went from a long kilt Then it went to a short kilt, which was where you would put it around you and then put it over. And then this became more of the, where the kilt actually has sewn in pleats. So one of the things that really started the attention towards tartan Scottish heritage is Queen Victoria. Prince George IV had gone to Scotland in 1820, but Queen Victoria went in 1842, and she just fell in love with the country, she fell in love with the people, she encouraged the locals, she loved the people. And so she would go back every year, and she really popularized the use of the tartan plaid. So the other thing you had told me is that Empress Eugenie actually also promoted it because she was half Scottish. So what we have here is a collection of different dolls in their tartans. And there's also a picture over there of beautiful sketch of Queen Victoria wearing a plaid, a tartan shawl. And they actually do have a Balmoral plaid that the royal family tries to keep other people from wearing it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a gray background. It's got like 3 or 4 colors. They actually had a red Balmoral. That was their royal thing, but everybody was wearing it. But they do have, if you see, there's, you know, you can see pictures of
Prince
Philip and
Charles.
Charles. Yeah, and they're wearing that tartan plaid.
We're
It's
gonna have to check
Balmoral.
out their legs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not impressive. But anyway, so where would you like to start?
Well, don't you think we should start at the beginning
I
of what
think
you,
so, yes.
the earliest that you brought?
All right.
I mean, anybody who knows Chris knows that she has way more than this.
Yeah.
So let's start with the earliest that you have.
So the earliest
That you have here.
that I have here, I think the earliest one is probably this one.
And that is just an adorable.
Isn't that
little thing.
wonderful? She's got a Glengarry cap. That's the other thing. I love paper maches. I love dolls with molded hats, and I love Scottish dolls. So that was like a trifecta for me. And this little guy is probably still my favorite. Is this?
A little showing.
Yeah, this is.
It's got a very highly detailed for a inexpensive doll.
Yeah.
Costume.
That's Walter, right?
Yeah, that's Walter.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so I thought, okay, now I knew that they made them in paper mache, so my quest was to find friends for Walter.
Okay,
So I found this wonderful boy.
that's wonderful.
Isn't that wonderful?
Is that, Chris, is that a typical, it looks like not a typical body for,
No, I think
For
that's interesting
papier-mâché.
too. Yeah, no, and he's got a beautiful costume on. I think very early. Look at that.
I think it's great.
Look at his shoes. And so we did talk about some of the parts of this, but if you see, he has a big sporran, right? Well,
He's got a big sporran. And then I love his legs.
I know, isn't that great?
Nice.
Sporran was like a pocket for you to put things in, because obviously with a kilt you don't have any pockets. So,
Actually, it's very handy.
well,
And you would think it bounces around, but it really doesn't.
no. So that was.
And I've got a really big sporran. It doesn't bounce at all.
Moving along.
Okay.
This is another paper mache.
And that's Walter's brother.
Yeah, isn't he cute? He's got.
But you've got an
glass eyes?
open mouth.
Yeah.
That's kind of really unusual.
I know, he's got very sharp arms. And he lost his sporran.
So, Chris, in your research, these dolls, were they bought in Scotland? Were they exported? What are you finding out when you see
I think-
these ethnic, or well, I guess they are ethnic.
I think some of them,
Costumes.
particularly the early ones, may not have been exported, but a lot of these here actually have, this has a box that says Scotland. So these are German dolls that were sent to Scotland to be dressed. And this one over here,
But,
yeah, the German, so there's a lot of
yeah,
little
so they
German.
were really totally doing that for, or the box could have been, the doll could have been ordered in.
Right. But
I mean,
that
do
was-
we have any indication that were these factory dressed in Germany, or were they cheap dolls then sent to Scotland and then put together? Do we,
I think there might have been actually a factory with them, because there's some that you find that are very similar.
okay.
But this one here, I thought this is a Roddy doll, but she actually has a little tag here that says Glasgow. It's Montes, Glasgow, and it says a Thule product dressed in Scotland. So I think they may have imported them and dressed them
Yeah.
there, because I think that a lot of these are very authentic to
Yes.
the costume, and that would be something that you would probably, not as fanciful as some things where if you have someone, another country dressing a doll, they could be quite fanciful.
Well, you know those little small, like hard plastic Native American dolls that from the 50s?
Yes,
And they're the dolls are just kind of like, you know, Hollywood-y kind of dolls.
right,
But then you look at the costumes and they're really very well done.
yes.
Well, they sent the dolls to the tribes,
Oh, wow.
and the tribes dressed them, so they're really as authentic to their time as you could be, because it was, you know, they're representing, you know, the Hopi or whatever the tribe was. So maybe is there some little bit of that in play here?
I would definitely think there's some, plus, you know, when, you know, the economy, you know, it's helping the economy, and when even, I mean, some of these are much, much later, but, you know, you dress things, I mean, tourism became a huge thing. And how do you help the people there? Well, you give them jobs,
Sure.
you know, and I think that's why a lot of these look similar. So this is, like these two, this is German. It has this beautiful costume.
It's incredible. And so his is incredible too.
Yeah, and that's an SFBJ. And he has and they both have the Busby, which is, they would have been a British regiment doll. And then there are a lot of dolls that were made by cloth doll makers in Great Britain. So a lot of these are Nora Wellings, or this one we decided was a Nora Welling.
Well, we did that, we kind of made that decision based on the fact that, I mean, this is what's so great about having a collection like this. Look at the fabrics are identical, the buttons are identical.
And look at the brooch.
Yeah, the brooches are identical. It looks like a duck, it walks like a duck,
It's a duck.
yeah.
And the nice thing is that Nora Wellings marked most of her dolls on the foot with a tag. So, oh, this is an early one too.
Oh, that one, that's new to your collection,
Yes, it
isn't
is. I was so happy to see him. Isn't he wonderful with his little, is that jabot? Is that how you say it?
Yes, that's a jabot, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
His little lace piece.
But isn't he wonderful? And he has a tam. He,
Do you need to see it closer? we need it, before we say it, we need some,
Oh, a jabot.
yeah.
okay, good, I got it right. But anyway, he has the classic Tama Chanter, and one of the things with the Tama Chanter is they always have a little pom-pom. So this is a Tama Chanter. This little one actually was from Kimport. And when I purchased her, the woman actually sent me the Kimport doll talk
Oh, fun.
that listed her in there.
And what year are we looking at?
Probably 40s.
40s.
Yeah, yeah. This one's an interesting one. This is a new one too. This is the shortest kilt. I mean, this guy
Well, he
can.
better not get anywhere.
This guy needs to learn how to do the bunny dip, you know,
Yeah.
because otherwise,
But it's a very interesting face.
isn't it? It really is very different. I've seen a couple of these, and They were in ethnic costumes, but I knew this one
Do
was
we
out
know
there.
who's the maker of
I
it?
don't. I think I'm gonna have to do some research on that. 'Cause I
Someone
really
out
do
there,
like
put,
it.
if you know what it is,
Yes,
put it in the
absolutely,
comment.
absolutely. So that's a wonderful one. This, let's see what we've talked about. This is another wonderful cloth manufacturer. This is Farnell, Alpha Farnell. This is Alpha Imp. And look at the costume.
It really is amazing.
I mean,
They've done all this soutache trim and
I know.
and these little, it looks like they're metal, but they look like they're wrapped,
I know.
bouillon kind of thing.
I mean, he's wonderful.
It really is very
Yeah, they're
great.
really, really.
And the wig, is it a wig or is it rooted in hair?
I think it's a wig.
Okay, it's
but
very
his-
cute. I love curls
I
like
do
that.
too. I do too.
Now, would this have come with a onesie, or would you get a boy and a girl?
I haven't ever seen the girl.
Okay.
I've just seen him. But my guess would be there is a girl, I just haven't seen it. And what you do find, actually, a lot of times, like, these are obviously Italian. These are Lynchies, mascots, with a very fanciful interpretation of tartan.
So, can you explain the difference between what a girl would wear and what a boy would wear?
Okay, well, actually,
Because we're both wearing skirts.
Well, actually, the girls would wear a scarf, like over her shoulder and a brooch.
Okay.
Or she would have a skirt made out of it, but it wasn't a kilt.
That would be a skirt.
It would be a skirt. And you asked me about wearing one, and I was like, nope.
Well, I'm not wearing mine either because even though it's 18 feet long, the skirt's not the problem because it's expandable. It's the little vest and jacket that.
Oh gosh. So these are also Italian Maggies. They're very cute. There is one style of these that are really cute, kind of impy faces, and they have these red fingernails.
Oh, darling.
And that makes them, this face,
But I mean, look at the
I know.
detail in when you just.
look at the shoes.
Yeah, I love the shoes.
I know, and he's got his, well, they both have sporrans, but, you know.
Oh, why would she have a sporran? Because they're Italian and they didn't know?
Well, there you go. I mean, because normally she's not going to.
Girls don't have those.
No, they don't.
Or do we think, could it? No, that's definitely a girl.
No, and these come in pairs.
Okay.
You know, I have some other ones.
But she shouldn't have that.
No, she shouldn't have a sporran. She's breaking the code. So we've done Nora Wells. This is Chad Valley in front, these two little girls. Once again, see, they don't have sporrans, but
See, they did it right.
they wouldn't have, I mean, originally, girls would not wear kilts.
So, it seems that you've got quite a few with tags and hang tags. So I'm assuming that that these are all, like a collector. You collect it. You don't
Right.
necessarily heavy duty play with.
Right, I think those are like the Madame Alexanders that the aunts would buy, where you put it on the shelf, or it would be a souvenir that you bought. Actually, this one here, this boy here, which has that beautiful costume, he was bought in Liberty of London in 1938.
Okay.
So, but he's big. I wouldn't think of him normally as a souvenir doll, but the outfits are sewn on. So this is another little Chad Valley, I think. She lost her little blue hat.
Yeah.
The hat's
probably
for
nice.
the
Oh
tam.
yeah, it's got a nice velveteen. I
Yeah,
would say
the
it's-
tam. She has a blue tam, and actually in the beginning they all wore blue tams. That was the color they wore. And then I'm a scofflaw because this belongs to the government.
You want to
This-
explain that because
Yes.
otherwise they may not know.
So this is a WPA doll, and it was actually Alabama WPA. And, Roosevelt had a work program that was amazing and put a lot of people to work. And they made these dolls, and these dolls were really mostly made for education, and they actually belonged to the government.
And they still do, technically.
Yeah, I know.
They're not coming to
I
get your
don't think
doll.
they're coming to get me. So this one is Alabama, and then the one over there with the yarn hair, that one is Michigan.
This one?
Yes. He's Michigan. He should have the hat, but he lost his hat. And then,
It's very, very lovely face.
isn't it? And then
The center
there's
seam.
the ones from Milwaukee that have the stockingette. They have a Scottish one that's really wonderful.
And do you have that one in
I
your
do
collection?
not.
Well, it gives you something to do.
That's right. I'm like Sarah Winchester. Oh, you guys probably don't know who Sarah Winchester is. She kept building because she was afraid if she stopped building, she would die.
That's not true.
Well,
I mean, it's
Let
what
me-
sells the tickets.
yeah,
but,
I know, but
I
I'm,
think she just enjoyed the action of building.
yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's a good story.
It's a good story.
Yeah, but if somebody would have called me out, you're right.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is.
You and I will go, we're gonna do a video at Winchester Mystery House.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's a fun place.
It is a fun place. So this little sweetie is just me.
That was really cute.
Isn't that cute?
So this one should be fairly early, don't you think?
Yes, because it's,
Probably
yes,
late 20s or?
I think so, yes. Isn't that cute? 7.5 inches. I mean,
And
really sweet.
is it painted bisque?
I
or-
think
yeah,
it's painted
Yeah, I
bisque,
think it's painted bisque.
but isn't that darling?
Yeah, it is.
That one's really cute. And then we have the amazing baby bouquet.
Oh,
Over
yes,
there.
Get over out of there and you can show the
Okay.
baby bouquet, because that's a nice character.
This is a really, really nice character doll, baby bouquet. Look at that little face. And he has a really wonderful costume.
You know, the one thing I will say about this, Chris, is when you actually put on one of these, kilt and all of it, it's very complicated. And it's not always easy to figure out, and you have to figure out how to wrap your legs and or what kind of shoes you can wear, and it's a little more complicated than, I always have a hard time keeping this on.
Yeah,
You know,
because you have to pin it, but I
It's,
mean, you gotta
it's
get through
actually
a lot
in real
of.
life, it's really big. It's
Yeah,
a huge
I know.
piece.
I think more like the one that Chad Valley over there.
And then
Yes.
I understand how you ladies feel about sitting in chairs, because you have to figure out how to maneuver that.
And then this is a sweet little guy, little Harrian.
So that's great.
He lost his hat. I'll find it.
Well, do you have his hat?
Oh, I do.
Okay,
Last
yeah.
time I did.
It'll be in tissue
Yep.
paper.
And then this one is a little
I really love that one.
Simon Helbig. Look at that. Isn't he wonderful?
And those look like the, totally original clothes to me.
Yes. I think a lot of these are original clothes.
Yeah, because who would, you would think that they would want to change them out of this
Right.
rather than put them into it.
Right, exactly.
Although a lot of character doll collectors love these costumes.
Yes, there's some
Because
amazing.
it really is very
Oh,
effective on
they're
character.
really, really, I mean, some of them are beautifully dressed. And then this guy is hard plastic, but I brought him because he has such a wonderful outfit.
No, yeah,
And with the,
I love that.
he has the plaid band, and he has the sporin, and he has the Tama Chanter, and the gator, well, I guess gators is what they call it. Yeah. And wonderful doll. I mean, beautiful costume. So, I mean, the thing about this type of collection, it actually lets you kind of expand from
Different materials.
for
that
different
you use,
materials. Yeah.
But you have a unifying theme.
Yes, yes. And so we did bring out a couple of little things because, with Queen Victoria inspiring people with, she wore plaid, she wore tartan, I should call it plaid, tartan. And there's this wonderful dress here that is probably, 1850s?
Yeah, probably late 50s.
And then there's a wonderful,
And I'm sure that when it was new, it was very vibrant colors
yes,
rather than the muted.
but still. And then, of course, we have,
Miss Rose Percy, she has her very own plaid. So, have you worked on, okay, so what you basically said is that the early names of the tartans are, that's kind of fuzzy, but are they all named now?
What happens is, interestingly enough, it depends upon, so this book is Collins, and it's Clans and Tartans, and it actually has 200 tartans with the crest badge and the motto, and then gives a history. But if you look online, you'll look at the same name, like Campbell, and it will be different. So it's a little fuzzy of, because people, I think, are, from what I understand, that they started naming them after towns, and they started naming them after, because they'd come up with a new one, and somebody would want a tartan, and so a little fluid. Black Watch, and some of the ones that were worn by the Highland Regiment in the English Army, those are standard. Yes, those are named. Yeah, but a lot of them are pretty fluid. So
it's not really something you can necessarily really definitively say.
Right, because like I said,
So we can say this is Rose Percy.
Yes.
Because it's a unique.
Right, and then this is Royal Stewart, because that's used a lot. And I mean, you can look through, I mean, there are differences in all of these plaids, and all of those plaids are unique. And so there probably are names for them, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Well, it's fun to accumulate, and then you
Yes.
can start to
Yes,
to
so this is,
organize.
yes, so this is, and I like this too, because it's Collins' little books.
Okay, there
Yeah,
you go.
there you go. And it has all of these wonderful Macmillan, McNabb.
And turn it up so she can see it.
And
Fun.
it talks about the history of tartan, and it talks about the different clans.
So we're celebrating the holiday season, mostly known as Christmas. Now, how does that fit into the Scottish culture?
Well, actually, the Scottish culture, they actually celebrated Hogmanay, which was the
Happy Hogmanay.
Happy Hogmanay, Happy Hogmanay. But that was that was New Year's, and so that was be when everybody visited, and they would, they had a Yule log that they would take the ember and then they would light the new one. I mean, these things were massive. And the other thing is that deck the halls with boughs of holly. That is medieval, back to medieval, and they did that in Scotland. But Christmas itself wasn't really celebrated that much until like the beginning of the 20th century.
Okay.
And they didn't even take the day off. It wasn't a national holiday. But now they've embraced it and,
That's good for business.
Very good for business.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Well, Chris, this was wonderful for you to bring these all out and share them with us. And, we've done this before, but I always learn every time you bring them, and it's always nice to see what you've got new in your inventory.
Yes.
All right, thank you to all friends.
Yes.
We'll see you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.